Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and YOU has been in Overwatch for a full week now on all three platforms. Most people have been able to experience YOU, a majority of people have been able to play their placements in competitive, and has been able to form an opinion about it. And I would have to say the reception for YOU in Overwatch has been mainly positive, because this has been something that so many people have been wanting now for such a long time. That's not to say that there still isn't that group of people that think the old version of Overwatch was better, where you were able to play GOATs, where you were able to pick any hero that you want. But those same people also probably like Cheerios compared to Honey Nut Cheerios, where it clearly makes the cereal better, but it's different. They don't like it. But all that aside, that doesn't mean that it's perfect. Like I keep saying whenever it comes to YOU, it's gonna have its own problems. There's gonna be stuff that obviously people care about, even though they like YOU, even though they like this new version of Overwatch. And that's exactly what we're gonna be talking about today, because while YOU is almost perfect, while it's great, there is one issue, and that is the fact that you're locked into a role for the majority of the game. And yes, that's the point. That is literally the point of YOU, of role lock, is that you queue up for a role and that you can't get out of that role because that's what you signed up for. Literally, you signed your life away to Jeff Kaplan to be able to play DPS. Yeah, but here's the problem though. These DPS players suck, alright? And I know I might just be pointing out the DPS players when there's clearly DPS players queuing up for tank that are sucking as well. Mainly me, alright? If we're gonna be adding anyone, that's all at me, alright? But that's the point of the beta, is to be able to put you in the correct ranks so that in Season 18, that you're not playing with Grandmasters when you're clearly a plat tank. Again, just at me, please. But everybody wants to play DPS. For the longest time, these tank players and support players never got a chance to show off how good they are at McCree, to show off how good they are at Tracer, but in all honesty, they just suck donkey nuts. So what do? You sit there and you fathom, how else could this YOU system be? And that's where a few people proposed the idea of a vote system. Now, this isn't necessarily an idea that I came up with, but this is just something that I see a lot of people suggest, is when you are in that situation of when you have a terrible DPS player, or not even just, let's look at it in a more positive way. Let's say you need a hit scan player because there's a pharmacy doing a bunch of work and this DPS player just simply doesn't play hit scan. He plays Mei, he plays, again, just at me, and then you want to maybe switch roles with him because you are a hit scan player. What do? You can't do anything. You just can't do anything because there's not a vote system to switch roles with other players. But what if there was? Now, what this vote system involves is that if a tank player wanted to switch places with a DPS player and everybody else agrees, you can vote on switching places. Now, in a perfect world where everybody's nice to each other and cooperating with each other, this would be great, and Blizzard would implement this idea right away. Here's the thing, though. There's bullies in Overwatch. What? Oh my god. Bullies in My Little Jimmy's Overwatch letting blasphemy, Bro You Whack. Well, I'm here to tell you, Susie, that he is actually the bully. He's bullying me. I don't know what to say, but he's bullying me to switch off DPS. But guess what? I can't. Even if I wanted to. While this idea might look good on paper and quite possibly even in the Overwatch League, this would not work in the wild, wild west of competitive Overwatch that everybody experiences, because people would abuse this system. While we would love people to cooperate, this is what would go down if we were to have a vote system, because there's going to be a DPS player in your game that's just sucking hot weenies, not getting any kills, dying every single team fight first, and then one of the tank players suggests, yo, why don't you switch places with me? I'm normally a DPS player, you're normally a tank player. If we vote to switch places, we can easily win. Yeah, that DPS player doesn't want to, because he's gonna see that as a personal attack and not switch. And then after a couple more team fights, the tank player is gonna be like, yo, switch me DPS, give me DPS. Yo, healers, can you help vote this guy off of DPS? Can we get this switch going on? And let's say you even do get this switch off. Who's to say that that tank player doesn't just throw because you personally attacked? You see where the mess starts to emerge, and why this idea, yes, on paper would work if everybody cooperates, if everybody does what makes sense. In execution, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be as simple as that. While it might be frustrating in the situation where you clearly see the problem where someone's not able to hold their own, whether it is DPS, which I keep referring to, but this could easily be said for any tank players, just at me please, or even just support players, it's something that you have to deal with in this new role queue system, in this new organized fashion. And this is where people say, oh, the old Overwatch was better. Back in my day, you used to have freedom to pick any role and any hero. Yeah, you also had the opportunity to play with 5 DPS. So while you might get the right DPS in that situation, you also had 4 that just didn't belong there. All right, Granddad? But then there's another problem that people seem to also forget when it comes to the possibility of role switches, which just kind of defeats the purpose when you really think about it. But here's the other issue that you seem to forget about, is that let's say there is role switches and everybody's nice to each other. It's hard to imagine, but let's say everybody's kind to each other. Who's to say that a plat tank player and a plat DPS player who are normally grandmasters in the other person's role won't just switch roles and completely dominate the other plat players on the other team? You see where people can not only abuse it to bully people, but also just cheese the system? Like I keep saying in all my role queue videos, role queue is not perfect. Far from it. It'll have its own separate problems from the older version of Overwatch. And this is just simply one of these problems where a tank player is queuing up for supports and they're gonna do awful. They're gonna be a DPS more, but it's just because they never really had to play support. And people are gonna get frustrated. People are gonna say, man, I wish there was some way that I can switch roles with those people. But then it defeats the purpose of role queue. Do you want to go back to the old system? Because that's what it basically would be, where at the beginning, everyone's forced to cooperate, and then at the end, everyone's arguing about, well, you didn't switch roles with me, well, you're not normally this, but well, this is what the beta's for, where it truly measures your rank so that come season 18, that even if you are a plat tank, but normally a DPS Grandmaster player, where you're going to be playing with other plat players that are normally a Grandmaster tank player, it just balanced itself out. And I think role queue within time will iron itself out. This is just one major wrinkle in this new Overwatch system that I think is going to work out in the long run. Right now, it's frustrating when you have people that don't normally play the role that they play playing on your team, but that also happens with the enemy team too. Don't forget that. And those are just my thoughts on this idea of switching roles based on a vote system. It's counterintuitive. In fact, there's even going to be some people in the comments saying this is a stupid idea. And I'm right there with you. But within time, and possibly even right now, there are some people that want this idea, but don't know what the consequences are. And this video just kind of explained why we won't ever have role switches, or especially a vote system, because it will be abused, people will get bullied, and we don't need any more of that than what's already in the Overwatch economy. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch videos to come, and bye.